I went home and asked my parents, like, who are you voting for? My mom looked at me and said, none of your business. Go do your homework. So my mom and dad did not want to influence the way I thought. Well, I think social media and the internet has changed everything. Enhanced it in many ways, but done the opposite in many ways as well. People need to see what happens when you speak up. If you say one thing wrong or something somebody doesn't like, that thing lasts forever. I have so much more peace in my life now, too, after all the chaos and the cancellation and the standing up. And I think that affects us in more ways than we realize.
Peace because you've spoken your conscience.
Yes. It's the biggest blessing to not try to please the world anymore and to be okay being disliked. I am no longer hiding. I'm no longer living in fear. I didn't realize how much I was living in fear until I stopped living in fear. We all have to ask ourselves that, like what is your line? I didn't know what that line was until it was crossed.
What is your price? Because if your price is not your life, then you are for sale.
To the Price is My Life podcast. Today, we are joined by Sage Steele. I went on her show, and now she's on mine. Sage is one of the most recognizable faces in sports media, a top anchor at the height of her career. But when Sage Steele dared to speak the truth about her beliefs, the backlash, which always happens when you tell the truth, doesn't it, was pretty brutal. Sage Steele, longtime ESPN anchor, suspended after some comments, some remarks involving COVID and President Obama. Sage Steele later sued ESPN and Disney, claiming retaliation, free speech violations. And after a long legal battle, Sage settled, left ESPN in August 2023, saying she wanted to exercise her First Amendment rights. Now she's blazing her own path in independent media, and faith is at the center of her journey, telling the truth without filters and without corporate control. Sage risked her reputation, her career, and her future, all to stand by what she believes in. This is, after all, called The Price is My Life show, and on this show, we're going to tell the stories of people who've sacrificed it all. You may have seen our recent interview with whistleblower Thomas Drake, and that, too, centered on his faith, a voice that refuses to be controlled. Thank you for being here.
That intro almost gets me choked up. My goodness, James. No, thank you. Thank you for having me. And the name of your show is everything.
So what does that mean to you?
Yeah. I didn't know. I say this to people who ask about speaking up and why did you do it? First of all, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't a plan to go out one day and blow up my career. But we all have to ask ourselves that, like what is your line? A line that is a little bit too far. Do you know what that is? Has a company, a person crossed your line? Like I didn't know what that line was until it was crossed. And then you have to ask yourself again, all right, am I willing to accept that? And if not, fine. What are you willing to accept? What are you willing to sacrifice? And yes, it's life altering. It always is.
When did you first discover that kind of in your conscience that there's this line? And when you had that feeling in your life or that thought to yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice? When did that first occur to you?
I think it crept up on me through the years. I started at ESPN in 2007, and it was a different world then. Completely different world.
2007?
Yeah, it was much different.
How has the world changed?
Oh my gosh.
What's the biggest way the world's changed?
Well, I think social media and the internet has changed everything and enhanced it in many ways, but done the opposite in many ways as well. And, working in network television for so long, okay, if you screw up, a couple 100,000, maybe a million or two people see it if they happen to be watching you live. Usually then it's gone. Well, now what happens? If you say one thing wrong or something somebody doesn't like, that thing lasts forever. It never goes away. And that's because of where we are with social media, with the internet. To me, that's where it really changed. And that was 2008 going into Obama, that election. Mm-hmm. And I had always been somewhat, I don't want to say political, but definitely interested in politics. late high school, early college.
You were interested in politics.
I was.
What led you to be interested in politics?
I remember being in a civics class as a junior in high school in 1988. And I'm aging myself, huh? 88, junior in high school. Do the math.
You look good for how your age.
Fake
you look
it
great.
till you make it. No, thank you. I remember.
What's your secret, by the way? That's why I asked Marla Maples. I have to ask, what's your
I
secret?
saw she was on your show, and I love her.
Is it
She's
moisturizer?
phenomenal.
Is it diet? What is your secret? For real.
It is slathering beef tallow on my face at night, number one. And it is genetics. You know, the whole black don't crack thing?
Asians don't raisin. Blacks don't crack. My operations manager is Filipino. He's laughing.
Is he though? Actually, I know that he is. He has to
There's
get
no
some
gray hair.
It's true.
There's a couple gray hairs now after what I've put
After
through.
working with you. No, it's a compliment,
You put
right?
beef tallow on your face?
But honestly, I have so much more peace in my life now too, after all the chaos and the cancellation and the standing up. And I think that affects us in more ways than we realize.
Peace because you've spoken your conscience.
Yes. And because I am no longer hiding. I'm no longer living in fear. I didn't realize how much I was living in fear until I stopped living in fear.
Working in corporate America,
Yes.
hiding your true
Hiding
beliefs.
because I worked for a woke company. So, but going back to 1988, I remember being in a civics class and just talking about the upcoming election. And I went home and asked my parents, like, who are you voting for? And who was it in 88? Oh my gosh. So is that 88?
Dukakis versus George H.W. Bush.
HW, exactly. And I just wanted to know who my parents were voting for. My mom looked at me and said, none of your business. Go do your
Really?
homework. Yeah. And military family, I'm an Army kid. We lived in Colorado Springs. Dad was stationed at Fort Carson at the time. He's a West Point grad. My whole life was moving to different Army bases around the world. And we had great conversations about things. My mom and dad did not want to influence the way I thought. They said, go do your own homework and figure out and let us know what you would do. And that's where it began.
You don't know who your mom voted for.
I don't know. I do now.
Yeah.
Back then, they wanted us to do our own homework
That's
and
interesting.
for them to not influence us. Like I failed in that way as a parent. I was like, listen with my kids. And
Yeah.
again, it was a different time.
Different world.
It's a very different world. But I so appreciated that. So then when I went to college and started doing digging, and even back then about Planned Parenthood and what it was all about. So
Margaret Sanger.
yes, no one wants to talk about Margaret Sanger and how she wanted to eliminate people who look like me. She said it on tape. No one likes to roll that tape back. No one likes to look at the facts of things. No one, obviously you, but the majority of people, they don't want to know the truth because they might have to change the way they do live their lives. Makes them uncomfortable. Want to continue to make people think otherwise. So that's where I really went deeper on it and took my mom's advice and wanted, like, you can have an opinion, great, but you better be able to explain why. And to me, most people don't know why they believe what they believe or don't.
It seems counterintuitive to me that your mother didn't tell you anything about it, and that made you more drawn to researching it on your own. Because most people's, their parents are political, and that's
Right.
why they're political. In your case,
Yeah.
they weren't.
No, they really weren't. And then I got probably, I think I, in hindsight, was a little over the top at one point. Probably
How are you over the top?
because I obsessed over it, and that was the Obama years, and what I thought was a divisive president. And even in the election. And remember the Joe the plumber and all of those
remember that.
conversations. Yeah. I was disturbed and disappointed that Barack Obama chose to ignore the white side of his family as a biracial man. I took it personally.
You took it personally.
Yeah.
Why did that affect you
It's
so
different.
much?
It is a different existence as biracial, half black, half white.
Versus
I am too.
being two fully black parents.
Yeah. And that's a whole show. That's a cultural thing.
But you felt righteous indignation about this.
I mean, strong words maybe. I just thought, I had been called names, and then you're not black enough, and you're certainly not white enough, even though I'm exactly 50% of each. And I remember being young and being teased for it, and then certainly throughout my career where you're not enough, and oh, well, she's different, and she thinks she's that because of her hair, because she's light. And in the black culture at times, it's, oh, if you're lighter, then you are spared from things throughout, slavery on up. All I know is that I had a white mom and a black dad who fell in love and had me, period. And I didn't understand how you couldn't be grateful for all of you, not just half of you. And so when he basically ignored his white side, he was raised by his white mother and white grandmother, and his black father, as he has said, was not around, nowhere to be found. He wrote a book about this. This was not breaking news.
Which book was that? He wrote a few books.
Yeah, but he talked specifically in one of them about his father not being there. And that's like millions of kids, black, white, green, yellow, whose parents are divorced, separated, maybe were never married, but one parent is not involved. And I just thought, my goodness, that must be tough for his white mom and grandmother who were right there, who did raise him to be a brilliant young man. And I took that personally because of the way I had been made to feel at times. And I mean, when I was little, I remember James like questioning. I was in third grade. We lived in Greece. I remember one day going to school, and my, third grade kids, friends are like, "Oh, look at you. Your mom dropped you off at school. You're white mom. You're adopted. Like, you don't look like your mom. You must be adopted." And I'm young. And I thought about it all day. And I went home, and my mom was like, "What is wrong?" And I started sobbing. And I was like, "My friends say that I'm adopted because I don't look like you. Am I adopted? Are you my mom?" I mean, I remember this vividly.
How old were you at the time?
Third grade.
Third grade.
What is that? 8. And I remember being so scared that she wasn't my mom. I knew my dad was my dad because I looked more like him, right? Just a little lighter shade. And I will never forget how my mom explained it to me as a little girl. Mm-hmm. She's like, when we go to McDonald's, what's your favorite thing to get? And it was the chocolate vanilla swirl ice cream cone. Mm-hmm. And she's like, think about that. You're like a swirl ice cream cone. And then when it melts, it's a little bit lighter brown than just the chocolate, right? That's because there's vanilla mixed in. That's just like you. You're just a little lighter. So yes, you're mine. And I love you with all my heart. And yes, you're your dad's. Like, that made sense to me. But I remember being so scared that those kids were right because I didn't look like my mom. So I think that's where it really began. Because think about, you see memes on this now and some beautiful stories on the internet where it's like, we are the ones that teach kids racism. Kids are born.
Who's we?
We, adults.
Just adults in
adults,
general.
Yes. The adults in the room are the ones. Kids don't care.
We're not born with it.
No, we're born with love and kindness, and you're just a little kid on a playground. You want to play kickball, right? We're the ones, and now social media, et cetera, that creates it. Kids are innocent. So that's where it really began. And I just didn't understand how he wasn't proud of all of him, so especially the ones who raised him.
This, I always like to ask, and I'd like to pull up that clip from the Jay Cutler podcast. But before, it's like, I always ask people, what is the genesis? You asked me the same question when I went on your show, like what made, and it was being in third grade and having people question, you were made to feel insecure. And that was deep from your very beginning of your life as an 8-year-old. Yeah. And you went to your mother, and she said it's like a McDonald's McFlurry. And remind people again your racial background, your mother and your father.
Yeah, my dad's black, born in New York City, Army brat. My mom is white, Irish Italian, from West Springfield, Massachusetts. Yeah, so very pale, white skin, ice green eyes. She's beautiful. My dad's beautiful.
Are they still alive?
Yeah, the ages 79 and 76.
What did they think about everything you went through at ESPN?
Oh, gosh. Well, it hurt them. It hurt them. I think that's I don't regret it. I don't regret any of it. But I knew I could handle it. I could handle the name calling. I could handle the death threats. I could handle the cancellation. But I hate how it affected others, and that would be my parents and my kids. It did affect them a lot.
Did it affect them even more than it affected you, or the same? Or
I think they hid a lot from me. There were a couple times my mom called me. One of my Instagram posts, this is probably 2017, that went really viral, and probably 4,000 or 5,000 comments within a day, and 90% were telling me how evil I am and threatening to rape my daughters.
90%?
Oh, yeah. And my mom called me almost in tears. My mom's tough. and called me almost in tears. And she's like, Sage, just delete the comment. Just delete everything you've said. Just please make it go away. These comments, they're threatening you. They're threatening your kids. And I had never thought about deleting it. And she begged me because it was breaking her to see her daughter being attacked. And as a mother of 3 myself, like, I understand that now. And I said to her, though, Mom, if I delete those comments, it will make it look like they never happened. People need to see what happens when you speak up. I will not delete any of this.
Do those comments hurt you? Did they
At the time.
I mean, it sounds weird, but does it hurt your feelings?
It did. Oh my gosh.
You?
Yeah.
And what year was that?
Feelings. 2017, when it really started to get ugly. Now I don't care. I think that's the biggest, most beautiful thing of being canceled and surviving. Like, I still woke up the next day, and every time I got canceled, which who knows how many times that is now, somehow I'm still standing and breathing. It's crazy. But it's the biggest blessing to not try to please the world anymore and to be okay being disliked.
That's the hardest part, isn't it?
Yes. And I think as women, as girls, in particular when you're younger, I think I was a pleaser growing up, and my whole career I've always been a pleaser, and you want people to like you. And wait, no, I'm a nice person. I'm a good teammate. I'm a good employee. Like, what, how could you not like me? What do you mean? And then I realized it was like all of those human qualities that are supposedly the most important things come in second place or fourth or fifth place to your opinion these days about something. And I always say, isn't that fascinating? Because your opinions are based on your experiences. Mm-hmm. So you can condemn me for my opinion, but I think it's short-sighted and actually ignorant because you don't know what I've been through. I don't know what you've been through. So to judge, I think is actually completely hypocritical.
I think of what you just said, the hardest thing is to be disliked.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult
You're
thing.
good at that, aren't you? You're good at...
I think it was Rush Limbaugh once said something to the effect of, you really have to, it's really hard to psychologically accept that you were disliked when you have all those negative. For me, it was the Wikipedia page initially. That was hard to you can't control it. But your point is you developed a kind of superpower, surviving that, for lack of a better word, online abuse, and now you're free, you're liberated. You're not seeking the approval of these powers that be.
I wish it hadn't taken so long, but I had a friend who said this to me about everything in life, professional, personal. It takes what it takes.
It takes what it takes.
And it took me years of kind of, you dip your toe in the water and it's like, oh, wow, that's really hot and it kind of burns, and let me take it back out and I'm going to run over here. And then I would say something else, or intentionally or not, and then it would get louder and louder. But then I realized, again, every single time I survived it and was a little bit stronger afterwards and thinking, wait a minute, that's my experience. Mm-hmm. Most of them initially began or surrounded race, for sure, and being proud to be biracial, being proud of all of me, not just what society told me, the half of me I was supposed to focus on.
It's like accepting yourself, being at peace with who you really are.
God forbid. It's amazing. They encourage that for some. Like if you're a furry, we are behind you. Congratulations. You're a girl today, a boy tomorrow, a cat Thursday. Like, that's all great. We're being true to ourselves. But if I say, well, wait a minute, both my mom and dad really mattered to me. Mm-hmm. I'm a sellout. So it's okay.
This is James O'Keefe. You know me for exposing the truth and holding the corrupt elite responsible and accountable. However, today I want to tell you about protecting your own freedom, your finances. Before you buy any gold or silver, hear this. We're going through one of the biggest financial shifts of our lifetime. De-dollarization. Nations like China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia are pulling away from the US dollar. And that threatens your savings and retirement security. Legendary investor Ray Dalio warns skyrocketing debt, relentless money printing, and a weakening dollar are all part of a dangerous cycle that could impact you. That's why more Americans are turning to real assets like physical gold and silver. Gold just surged past $3,700 per ounce, and momentum is building. I've partnered with veteran-owned American Independence Gold to help you take action. Open a qualifying account today and get up to $10,000 in bonus gold and our free gold protection guide. And here's the best part. A portion of every sale supports Tunnel to Towers and Wounded Warriors. Freedom isn't given, it's secured. This is James O'Keefe. As always, this is not financial advice. Always check with your licensed financial advisor before you invest.
My circle's gotten a lot smaller, and I think that's a blessing too.
That is a blessing. But
Yeah.
boundaries.
Yeah.
So if the 2025 version of you were to go back to the 2017 version of you and offer you some wisdom, what would it be?
To not live in fear.
Fear no evil?
I was afraid
Of what?
of being disliked. I was afraid of being disliked by my bosses, first and foremost, and then by teammates, and then by friends and neighbors, and then by society. And it was the world was so different in 17, and it's nothing like now, which is why I'm like, God, that's what upset me then, you know?
The world has changed a lot. I think
It
people are
has.
more likely to they're more likely to speak their mind. We need to make it even better.
I would go back. You know what I would do? This sounds so cheesy. I would give myself a big ol' hug.
Just hug yourself.
Yeah, and be like, it's okay. You're going to be okay. Don't hold back because of the toll that took. And then when it was like, okay, do or die, do you stand up or not? Because act now or forever hold your peace is kind of where I got to with the Disney thing. And then once I did, it was like, okay, here we go. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I'm no longer going to be silent. Because at some point, sure, you can be mad at your employer, be mad at social media, be mad at your friends who, you know, are cussing you out or disowning you, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I would be more disappointed in myself. They can say what they want, but I can't control that. I can control this. So if I stay silent, that's my own fault. It's not their fault.
That's the greatest wisdom I've learned, is to focus on what you can do, not try to control other people. The Stoics talk a lot about that. We have a clip here. For those of who are not familiar, this is from 2021. Team, can we?
You fill out your census. I'm like, well, I don't know when the last time I filled out my census was, but if they make you choose a race, she's like, what are you going to put? I go, well, both. She's like, well, you can't. She goes, well, what if Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial? I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I go, I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey, you do you. I'm going to do me.
So that one line, that one sentence.
Yeah.
I love how you're very authentic though. You're saying what's on your mind. You're not holding anything back there.
So Jay Cutler's research staff did their homework. That was 2021.
Yeah.
He asked me about those comments that were originally said in 2014 on The View.
Oh, you said them on The View in 2014.
And then I just repeated it in that clip there with Cutler. I was on The View. ABC and ESPN are both owned by Disney. So every once in a while, they'd ask me to go on there. And it was Barbara Walters and Sherry Shepherd and Whoopi and Jenny McCarthy, who's lovely. By the way, Whoopi was really nice, too. Like, I think something's happened to her since as well. But at the time, very nice and supportive. And Barbara Walters had a problem with me not identifying as black. So, I mean, she was upset with me, and that's the story I was telling.
She had a problem with you not identifying as black.
Yeah, she had a problem with me identifying as biracial, which is what I am. And
Why did she have a problem with that?
It's a great question.
It's weird.
But she said, so what happens when you fill out a census if you can only choose one? And I was like, I haven't done one lately. And she said, our president is black right now. And that's when I said that about Obama. And those are the facts. He is only identifying with half of him, the half of, unfortunately, where his father wasn't there. And by the way, like that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. The numbers in the black community, 72% of black kids are born out of wedlock. Quite often fathers are not there. Let's focus on that. Right? Not the fact that I'm not identifying with the half that you want. By the way, coming from a 106-year-old white woman at that moment, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know that Barbara Walters was still alive or on television. I think she's
in 2014.
Deceased now.
She is now.
This is 10 years ago or so.
This is 10, 11 years ago. So at that time, and so when Jay asked me about it, I repeated the story, and that's all it was. And I stand by it because those are facts. Barack Obama, again, he can identify however he wants. But when Barbara Walters brought his name into the conversation, I responded. That was my response. I choose to identify as actually what I am, which is half of each. And I'm
I just
so
don't know why
damn proud
Barbara
of it.
Walters would be. That's weird.
Well, she's woke. She was,
Strange.
yeah, God forbid. So it's just
Is it
amazing
white
how.
guilt? I just want your opinion on this, your perspective. I think that's fascinating.
I think there's a lot of people you could ask that question. They'll never
Yeah.
acknowledge it's white guilt, but their words
Right.
say that. And the number of, white people who had strong opinions about me saying that, I'm like, this doesn't even affect you, actually. None of it does. But it's just amazing, James, how 2014, those words, no one said a word. It was live on ABC. No one said a word.
Why didn't anybody say a word? Because it was owned by Disney and ESPN?
No. I think it's just a different time.
Different time.
It was a completely different time. Obama was still president. And I was like, okay, she brought up his name. I responded, and I'm going to choose to identify actually as I am. And then 2021, the world was much different. George Floyd.
That's true.
Think about that. COVID, George Floyd.
That's very true.
People,
That's very true.
Everything was tense, and it hit different.
It was like a matchbox ready to ignite.
It was.
It was a tinderbox.
It was.
Tinderbox.
That's the comment, yes, that got me in trouble, but more so was the vaccine. That was the same podcast.
The bigger, and that was the one where you said, quote, tell me if this is correct. I respect everyone's decision, but to mandate it is sick, and it's scary to me in many ways. Was that something you said?
Yes.
About the vaccine? And is that what really got you in trouble?
That's what they said initially, and then they kept kind of changing their story. But Disney required all employees, ABC, ESPN, Hulu, whatever it is, Disney, to get vaccinated, fully vaxxed by September 30th, 2021. And if you didn't, then you'd be fired.
Did you get it?
I did.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with that. I feel I did what I had to do at the time to keep my job, which I loved. I worked my entire life. I loved my job, every minute of it, even up to the very end when there was an active lawsuit when I was on TV every day. But I needed my job. I had 3 kids, 1 in college, 2 on the way. I had recently gotten divorced. I was 100% responsible financially for 3 kids and an ex-husband. Like I needed that job. And so to not get the vax, I would have been jobless. And they had a right as a private company to fire me for that. Think about that 4 years ago where we were. I always say this. There's a couple of times we never need to forget about in American history, many, but in particular, 9/11. We got to stay angry about that. And hashtag never forget COVID either, because of what they did intentionally. We now know that. But at that time, that was my decision. And the day that I got the vax was the last possible day in order to be fully vaxxed by September 30th. And I went directly on Jay's show. Like the Band-Aid on my arm.
That's
that
that
you
right
just
there.
saw.
Yeah. That's the Band-Aid. Pull it back up on the screen, team.
Yeah.
That was actually the day.
I literally came straight from getting the shot and rushed.
Wow.
I was late and I rushed in and forgot that the Band-Aid was on my shoulder. And I just rushed in and did the Zoom with Jay.
You forgot that it was on your. So basically, maybe you were channeling some of that righteous indignation here on the show.
Subconsciously,
perhaps?
Swear to God, subconsciously, I did not like. It's not cute. I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I literally the thing was I was late getting to that taping because I sat in the parking lot before getting the shot.
Yeah.
In tears, and saying and. Literally, I hadn't decided whether or not to get the shot until I walked in and sat down with tears in my eyes. And the nurse, whatever she was, at the grocery store where they administered the shot, looked at me and saw my red eyes and said, "Are you okay?" And I looked back at her and I said, "No, I'm being forced to get this shot in order to keep my job." And this sweet woman grabbed my hand and said, "This is so wrong, and I am so sorry." And when she put it in my arm, something changed in me. I didn't know until later, but something changed because I realized that I had given up control of my body and my morals and my values and my principles to this company. And I did it for the reasons I told you. I had no choice. And, people had said, my agent at the time was like, just get a religious exemption. just get a medical exemption. Like, tell them this, tell them that. And I kept on principle. I was like, no, but it's not religious. It's not medical. I don't want to lie. I think the principle of forcing you to do something to your body should be enough. And I fought it until they said, do you want your job? Here's your choice. So I've had to forgive myself a lot for that, but I went straight on that podcast, and in hindsight, I was running hot for sure, because I was.
You just cried right before this?
Oh.
Like hour before, 15 minutes before, day before? Or how long before you went on the show were you in tears?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So I ran in my house. I flipped up the laptop thing to get the Zoom set, and I went and threw some makeup on my face. Usually extra mascara hides the ugly, so I put a lot of mascara on. And I was like, okay, maybe he won't see because Zoom quality's not great.
Well, you're in television, and I'm not in the type of television that you're in, but I'm also kind of in television. And the thing about this industry, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that when you're on, when that thing, I don't care if you have bronchitis, you're on.
You're on.
Is that right? Do I have that? A Fox News guy told me that. Like, I don't care if you have mono. When that thing goes on, you just go, right?
There is something that is, it's an intangible for sure, and it's almost hard to describe. And there's something in me that I, as a really, really shy kid growing up, to then be able to flip that switch when the light came on. Yeah, there's an adrenaline rush for sure.
Adrenaline.
So that adrenaline, and I look at everything as live, because you know, even if it's taped, I mean, you never know.
Correct.
Whoever, like, once I say it, and I wouldn't ask someone to edit it out. And so with Jay, listen, and if you find that clip of the exact clip of me discussing the vaccine, you can see me take a deep breath and hesitate because I assumed I was live.
Let's play that clip, team. Sage assumed she was live. She hesitated.
I mean, I knew I wasn't. My point is, my mentality is it's always live.
Mentality.
Yes.
Mentality was it was live. And we're gonna cue that up. Who is that with?
That's Jay Cutler still.
Well,
this is the exact
this is the same one
today. So the fact that I get to be on Jay Cutler's Uncut podcast today, like, this is such a momentous day in my life. Where you don't even know what's in here because I'm so mad. Listen,
September 13th. I mean, you took it a long way.
I did. I didn't want to do it. But I
started here.
I work for a company that mandates it, and I had until September 30th to get it done, or I'm out.
Were you having to get COVID shots like weekly or daily?
A test?
Yeah. If you weren't vaccinated.
I got them all. What's that?
If you weren't vaccinated, did you have to get a COVID test weekly, or no? You're good.
No, because there's so few people on campus right now. We usually have about 5,000 people on ESPN's main campus in Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the number is. It's crept up, but there's not many. And you have 6 feet distance, and you have your masks. I think I respect everyone's decision. I really do. Yeah. But to mandate it is sick. Mm-hmm. And it's.
Yeah, there it is. We're in post. We'll put the
tail end of that you didn't hear. That's probably the full clip.
Yeah. It's scary to me in many ways, and it's mandated. It's sick. So you're channeling that feeling that you had when the grocery clerk put your hand, and you just realized it. Almost, I hate to say the word, but a barber of mine who cuts my hair said it. He did it for the same reason. He felt like it was kind of like a psychological rape. And millions of people relate to this, by the way.
The number of people who continue to come up to me more than ever, the thousands of emails and DMs, I got thousands. Once I said it, that came out. I got suspended. I got pulled off the air. Disney employees who wrote me on personal accounts to say, thank you, please keep speaking up, we're afraid. So I've realized through my cancellation and then suspension and forced public apology, Disney made me apologize, and they sent it out to the Washington Post, and the LA Times, and Chicago Tribune, and every top article or newspaper and platform they sent it to. And that's when people were like, oh my gosh, please don't stop. So I realized it was bigger than me. But in the meantime, the thing is I complied. But they still punished me because of...
You said you had no choice, and
And that's not true. I did, but I felt like I didn't.
Do you have regrets? I know it's a hard question, but
yes and no. Yes, because I, for obvious reasons, I didn't believe in it. I was scared of it. A simple Google search, I say this all the time, simple Google search told me that on average it takes 6 to 9 years for the FDA to approve a vaccine.
Right.
And this was shoved down our throats. And it was political. We knew that because when Trump was being rushed to create this vaccine and get it out to the people, then you had people like, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all the people on the left saying, I'll never touch that because it's Trump and I'll never touch that. What does he know? And then as soon as Biden took office, if you don't get that, then you're evil and you want your grandma to die, right? So I realized it was political very early on. I realized the dollars that hospitals would get when they designated a person as a COVID death, even if they had a massive heart attack. Like if you did a little bit of homework, you know about that, you realize that something was off here. And so I'm disappointed in myself for that, but I know that my heart was in the right place and I did what I had to do to support my family, which is what millions of people have to do. And this is really important to me now. Every part of that had to happen for me to be here today. If I had not done it, I don't know what would have happened. I would have been fired. Maybe I would have gotten a bigger, better job right away. Probably not, because then she didn't take it. She's an anti-vaxxer, and that's how these companies work as well. Think back 4 years ago. I don't regret anything. There are times where I would have softened wording, not with that, but with other things, or been stronger, not lived in fear, all those things. But it takes what it takes. Like every part of that journey.
Yeah, that doing that led you to say your truth.
Yes.
Perhaps you wouldn't have said it in that way, and it wouldn't have inspired people.
I certainly wouldn't have sued Disney.
And you did more than what most people do in your industry. You did more than they did. It's just the choiceless choice of I hear it from so many people. I have to pay my mortgage. I have to my children to feed, and so forth and so on. We get thousands of people inside Accenture and other places this week saying the same thing, and it's a tough choice.
It breaks my heart.
It's horrible.
It breaks my heart because I knew I would land on my feet financially. I'd done well enough. I was really blessed with great contracts there, and so I knew I'd be okay. But there's so many people who would not have. And so that's one area where I've really chosen not to judge because, first of all, people judged me for taking it or not taking it, whatever. There are people who are making nothing and literally need that job and felt that they had to make the choice as well. And I hugged a woman the other day at an event I was at where she's so mad at herself for caving too. But I'm so, again, it had to happen that way and it changed my life. And what it has done is, again, remind me that it's so much bigger than me and my kids. My kids have been right here. They were old enough during all of this to see it, to feel it, to witness it, to be affected by it.
You said your parents, how did your children, how old were they when this happened, by the way? 2021, how old were they at the time?
15, 17, 19.
What is their perspective on this?
It's evolved. When people come after your kids and attack your kids for something you said, that's when I was like, oh gosh, this is too much. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Come after me all you want, but if you go after my kids, that's another level.
Mama Bear will come out.
Oh, and she did. But I couldn't protect them. They saw the comments.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't responding, then they'd go find my kids. And then you want to protect them and put them in this bubble and you can't.
Well, they're old enough. They're of age where they're still young, but they're not.
The problem is teachers, coaches, other parents,
making
people
comments
in
to
their
them.
lives would say something to them about their mother in class.
Yeah, it's not easy.
On the sports field, and so that's where I was mad. And so eventually, when I decided to file the lawsuit, which only had to do with the double standard that ESPN chose to use with me and my comments versus my coworkers who were allowed to say and do whatever they wanted politically because it aligned with Disney's narrative.
We have the statement. If you put on the screen, we're taking it back to this moment in space and time. From what was this? Winter, spring, summer, or fall of 2021?
At this point, this is October of 21.
October. In a statement to CNN, Steele said, quote, "I know my recent comments created controversy for the company, and I apologize. We are in the midst of an extremely challenging time that impacts all of us, and it's more critical than ever we communicate constructively and thoughtfully." It sounds like what Amy Robach at Good Morning America when they put the gun against her head, the North Korea style. That's
100% what it was.
Take me back to this moment. How did this come to be?
When the podcast came out, my agent called and he said, "So, making a couple waves here and they're not happy." And I'm like, "What about what?" And they said, the COVID comments. I said, "What's the problem? I took their damn shot. Like, what's the problem? I can have an opinion if I'm complying with the rules." I knew that. And they were like, "No, this isn't going over well in Burbank, where Disney headquarters were." And so then, jumping ahead, basically they said, "You will sit out for an undetermined amount of time." It ended up being like 13 days. "You will be suspended." They don't like to say the word suspended because I still got paid. I'm like, no, we have paid suspensions all the time in sports leagues. It was a paid suspension. And I lost several assignments, and you must issue this public apology. So there was a negotiation with that. I have the email chain that went back and forth after an hour-long phone call to discuss.
Has that been published, the email chain?
No. And if you notice, it said the controversy that my comments created for the company.
Throw that back on screen for a minute. I know
this part cracks me up. Controversy for the company. I was not allowed to say the word Disney. They would only let me say that was
the negotiations.
Well, they said she is not allowed to say Disney. It's the company. They wanted their name left out of this whole thing, even though it was obvious. So,
in these negotiations, they required you to issue a public apology in exchange for what?
Well, my agent told me that if I didn't do the apology, then I'd be fired.
So you made the tough choice to make the apology so that you're not fired, so you can keep, it's tough.
Now, and also what I didn't apologize for was specifically I said, I'm not going to apologize for my comments about race with Obama. I can have that opinion. Or my opinion about the COVID shot. But my recent comments created controversy. So I'm apologizing for the controversy. Now, you can wordsmith this, but to me, that's where we got, where I was not comfortable with it, but it was as good as it was going to get. And that sucked, though, because to have that apology, to have to do it. And then they followed it up with, "Well, we respect everyone's opinions. We're going to suspend her." So the hypocrisy was so...
It's also, what I take from it is that they had to send a message to the others.
Correct.
In
the 50,000 other Disney employees. When you look at Disney as a whole.
What percentage of those, I know this is a tough question to answer, but what percentage is it 10,000, 20,000 agree with you?
Oh, gosh.
Probably a lot. I mean,
now I think
vaccine,
a lot more.
At the time.
Yeah.
At the time.
I mean, I think it would be a total guess. But since Disney is Disney, if you take the parks out of it, where the parks are, sadly, they've changed and it's so woke, gosh, I would say probably 40%.
Okay, I agree with you, because I did a story on Disney, and people are like, "Hey, Keith, keep up the good work," like the rank and file. I mean, they have to send a message to other people that this is what happens when you
speak up.
When you speak up, they have to, like a hammer on a nail. They have to send a deterring effect to others,
especially because I was one of the longest tenured.
How long were you there at this point?
At that point, I'd been there for 14 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, as far as women, Linda Cohen, for all you SportsCenter fans, and she's a goat. She's awesome. She had not been doing SportsCenter consistently at that time, so I was the longest tenured female sportscaster, female SportsCenter host, and I was the highest paid woman at the network. Like,
really?
At the network. So
at ESPN.
So, point being, I'm only saying that part to your point that, like, they had to use me as an example. Like, if we're going to crush her, who has been the face of fill in the blank for years, many things, marketing projects, etc., then everyone else listen up. Don't say it. The problem is they allowed my liberal counterparts who had the same similar jobs as me to go on ESPN airwaves. That was a podcast with a retired NFL quarterback on a day off on ESPN airwaves and talk about things like abortion on an NBA show, Roe versus Wade being overturned, and she was crying, or the alleged LGBTQ don't say gay bill in the state of Florida on a football show. So that's when I said, no. You're going to suspend me here for giving my opinion but complying with your rules on a separate podcast. But then the others, since they fall in line with Disney narrative, they're allowed to do that and not talk about sports on a... So that's when the lawsuit came up.
And this lawsuit, and I've been sued 50 times, so I'm a little wonkish.
I should have called you. You could have helped me through it.
I'm a little wonkish when it comes to this, but this may not interest my audience, but it interests me. So I'm going to talk about it anyway.
We're standing up to the powers that tried to discredit us, silence us, smear us, raid us, and throw us in jail. They've awakened a sleeping giant. We're building a movement of transparency and accountability in both the public and private sectors because we run from nothing. We hide from nothing. And when you join and get your full access pass, you fuel a movement for truth. We are the media now.
You were punished for off-air speech.
Yeah.
Your attorneys argued this was a kind of retaliation for exercising your right to free expression on a personal podcast, not ESPN's airwaves. But this wasn't entirely a First Amendment claim because in a strict constitutional sense, since ESPN is a private employer, so it's kind of and you were in Connecticut at the time, is that right? You were in Bristol?
Yes.
ESPN's located in Connecticut. A Connecticut free speech and employment retaliation claim citing state laws protecting employee speech on matters of public concern. Is that accurate?
That's the part that people didn't understand because correct, constitutional, it does not fall under that. This is a private employer, correct. But the state of Connecticut is one of very few, maybe the only one, I don't know now, but at the time, that has a statute that says you are allowed to criticize your employer if you're complying with their rules. I didn't know that when I made the comment. You saw I was reacting to Jay's question with a Band-Aid on my shoulder, having come in from getting this shot that I thought was wrong. I didn't know or care. I had no reason to know that. But when this got bigger and my coworkers were allowed to do that, and I saw the hypocrisy, and a friend of mine, Chris Harrison, the former host of The Bachelor, who also got canceled and basically let go by ABC, he saw what was happening and called me and said, he's a dear friend of mine. He just officiated my wedding. He's a great friend of mine. And he said, I have an attorney. You need to talk to him. And within 5 minutes, I was on the phone with his attorney and they did their homework and said, wait. Yes, it's unfair, but not, illegal in many ways. But the point is, based on this statute, you were wrongfully punished.
The Connecticut law.
The Connecticut statute.
And you didn't know that when you made the comment, but you found that out.
No.
And you went through a year of litigation. Did you get through any discovery? Were there any depositions?
16 months total. Nope. Did not get to discovery. And in many ways, I kind of wanted to because then it would have blown up
They don't want discovery.
They don't want discovery.
Emails and texts about you. And
oh my gosh. That would have been great. And I think it would have changed a lot for a lot of people. It would have been my hope. However, it was 16 months.
16 months
while I'm on TV every day.
Pre-discovery motions.
Yeah, we never got to discovery. Yeah. But from the moment of the lawsuit being filed to the day I settled with them was 16 months of going into work, going on TV every day with a pending lawsuit.
While you're litigating against your own employer.
Against Bob Iger and
How
Disney.
Does that feel? It feels kind of
scary.
Scary. Yeah, it's just tense. It's just
every day.
Yeah.
Because when I came off suspension, there were a few bosses who called me and said, listen, you've ticked off, your coworkers and your teammates and people aren't comfortable working with you. And they brought me back in like this. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I mean, I was so scared.
Maybe they were also walking on eggshells too, because they were a little afraid of you.
Maybe, but they wanted to continue to silence me. Like you said, the example that they made of me with the statement, et cetera, that was as much about sending the message to others as it was about punishing me. And so they wanted to get me back in that little hole and go back to being quiet, sweet, pleaser, Sage. And I did that until they continued to allow others. Listen, I've never employed the services of an attorney. I'd never sued anybody. I'd never even, honestly, for my divorce, I didn't even use a real attorney. Like, I didn't do any of it. Like, I'd never dealt with anything legal in my life. And I was scared to death. And I knew that by suing my company that I was working for and handsomely paid by, that I would be, for all intents and purposes, ending that job and potentially that career. But that was one of those lines that I knew.
The line in the sand.
Yeah, and when
take
they
me
did
back to that decision-making process, because you're right. Once you start suing your own employer, it's going to make it harder. I suppose at that point you've already crossed the Rubicon. But still, was that an easy decision for you to make? Did that require consternation? Did you think about it for a few days, or was it immediate? I knew I need to do this.
No, it was not immediate. It made me, I lost like 10 pounds during that time and just was so scared because I was 11 years old when I announced I wanted to be a sportscaster. My dream from that age as a little girl was to do exactly what I was doing at ESPN. I was doing and had done things far beyond my wildest dreams. And so to sue them, like to throw it all away, I knew that's what it would be. You're not going to get another contract offer after you sue them. Like, it is what it is. But we had asked them if they had just apologized. We asked Disney for months and ESPN, if you just apologize for treating me differently than the others, I'm good.
Probably the hardest thing you're asking for right there.
Well, it was a good strategic
move
good
by strategy.
My attorney.
I mean, 99.9% of the people I bust don't say, "I'm sorry, James, you got me. I atone for my sins." Their ego takes over.
They laughed. We asked and asked and asked while preparing the lawsuit at the same time. And the night before it dropped, I mean, I was scared to death. Because then there's no turning back. Because
the complaint for the lawsuit dropped. It was in 2022 or thereabouts.
This was end of April of 22. Yeah, April 28th, 2022.
But after you made the decision to do the lawsuit, you probably breathed a little bit of a sigh of relief because it's.
I did, but I on a personal level, again, I had a daughter who was a freshman in college, a son who was a senior in high school, and a daughter who was a sophomore in high school. And so the night before, I talked to each one of them, and the girls were concerned and upset, and knowing that people would probably come after them again as this makes headlines. Like,
what did you say
Steele
to them?
Suing Disney, suing the company. I apologized to them for what was about to happen, knowing that it would probably bring more crap their way. I said, "I'm sorry. Please don't ever feel the need to defend your mom. But if someone brings it up to you, all I'll ask you to say is to remind people that diversity of thought is the most important thing. And you don't always have to agree with your mom. You can say that. I don't agree with my mom, but she has the right to have an opinion." That's all I told them to say. And I said, "I'm sorry again." And my son, who was 17 at the time, I'm crying as I told him this. Like, "I'm sorry, this is what's happening, but I can't be quiet anymore." My son looked at me and he goes, "Mom, it's about time you stood up for yourself." And at that moment, like, I sobbed because I was so grateful for his perspective, but I also realized that this whole time, all these years when I tried to stay quiet to protect them, what was I teaching them? I was teaching my kids to take the safe route and just be quiet. Get the paycheck, keep the peace, make sure everybody likes you. I'm preaching them to be strong and stand tall and stand up for others. Like, I was teaching my kids all the right things, but I was living the opposite. So I was a freaking hypocrite. So when my son said that to me, like, it sounds cheesy, but I knew that even if I lost to Disney, and the chances were pretty high. Talk about David versus Goliath, right? I mean, they can bleed me dry in like 8 seconds financially. It's Disney. I'm one person. But even if I had lost, I knew that I had won in more important ways because my kids saw that their mother was not going to take it anymore.
What was that quote from your son again? What did he say?
"Mom, it's about time you stood up for yourself."
That's beautiful.
Isn't it?
That's a beautiful statement. How did you respond to that?
I like sobbed, seriously. And I went over and I just hugged him.
You were grateful to hear your son say
I
that.
was, because I thought they'd be mad at me, but I knew that this was bigger than all of us and that I had to stand up. When I saw my peers being congratulated for giving their opinion about non-sports topics, political topics on sports shows, but I'm doing something personally on the side while complying with your rules. No. And I lived it, and many conservatives at the network had lived it for years. So I just knew it was enough. And he hugged me, and he's just like, "It's all right, Mom. I love you, and you can do this."
Wow.
He was 17.
It's a lot of wisdom from a 17-year-old.
I know he was, but the fact that they saw me for all those years, I didn't think they noticed. I didn't think they saw me being quiet.
Maybe they saw you with who you really were, though, and you know, you weren't quiet to your children. You were talking to them about these issues, weren't you? Or
I was, and then I would, smile and wave, boys, smile and wave, and you just go to work. And again, I loved my job, James. I didn't want to leave it, but this was more important. And I don't know if I shared this with you when we met a few weeks back for my show, but my dad at West Point, he made us memorize part of the cadet prayer as kids. And that cadet prayer helped me make this decision.
The cadet prayer? I'm not familiar with the
cadet prayer at West Point.
Let's pull up the cadet prayer. I'm not familiar with it.
It's this is the part of it that I focus on. Make me choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, and never to be content with a half truth when the whole can be won.
Make me choose the harder right than the easier
instead of
wrong.
the easier wrong, and never to be content with a half truth when the whole can be won.
Never be content with the half truth. I have it up here. Strengthen and increase our admiration for honest dealing and clean thinking, and suffer not our hatred of hypocrisy and pretense ever to diminish. Encourage us in our endeavor to live above the common level of life. Make us to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, and never be content with the half truth. The whole can be won. Language is interesting. Words are interesting because it's one thing to read them and it's another thing to live them. It's hard for people to understand what that actually means. Make us choose the harder right. Sometimes it's also been said sometimes the hard thing and the right thing are the same thing. I've heard that said before. But that's a lot of wisdom from a 17-year-old. So did you find when your son said that to you, you breathed a little easier afterwards?
I knew that it was the right thing. I knew in my gut already, but when my kid says it,
Wow.
He's a senior in high school. He's getting, he's hanging out with his friends and graduation, and he was an athlete. And it's like, I didn't even know he was paying attention to any of it. And so I knew that what I hoped from that moment on, and certainly before, but I was reminded at that moment, was like, no matter what comes up in their life, that they knew they couldn't be silent. Certainly, you have to pick and choose your moments, right? Sometimes you got to shut up. Sometimes we bite our tongue, fine. But my prayer for them, my prayer for so many other people who struggle with it when they know something's wrong, but there's fear.
Oh, there's millions of people struggling with millions. Everyone watching is struggling with this.
In so many ways, not just a vaccine.
No.
Like in so many ways, sometimes more important ways, whatever it is. But my hope and prayer is that you listen to that. Like, listen to your gut. I swear to you, we almost always know the right thing. We just don't choose it because it is harder. It is. It would have been easier to continue to shut up and keep getting that big paycheck and keep being, yay.
I don't think you could have done that.
Well, no, not at that point. No. And that's why I said I'm out.
Knowing you for 2 hours, I don't think you could I don't think you could have. It was a choiceless choice for you. In other words, it wasn't a choice. You just had to do what you had to do.
Based on that being drilled into me my whole life, and based on being silenced and choosing silence for so many years. And it's one thing when your kids are little and they just hey, as long as Mom, did you make my lunch? Is it during the table? Can you take me to soccer practice? Great. And then when they become young adults and they watch everything you do.
That's a good point. You're a role model for them.
Sometimes they've hated it. Sometimes they've really struggled with it, and it certainly has affected their lives. But, they have each recently told me how proud they are of me. And I have probably, as a mom, I fail in a lot of ways. I failed in so many ways. I always say to them, not always, more recently, I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this for the first time too. I've never had a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old. Today's my first day of doing that at your age too. And so you just do your best. And I know I've failed them in some ways, but I know that I've tried my best and they have seen that, as imperfect as it's been. But with this part, I know that they will be better than me. They won't be silent for as long. And that's why I wouldn't change anything too. Because, and I said this before, again, I'm full of cheesy lines, but whether it's personal and professional, I said to them, please don't waste my pain. Use this. Your mom's little thing that made some headlines, so who cares, right? But please use this and be better than me. Be better. Don't wait. Don't conform. Don't subject yourself to things that you know are wrong. Don't wait 50 years to be fearless and to be okay being disliked. Be true to yourself, please. I think any parent wants their kids to be better, smarter, stronger, all the things. I know for a fact now that they already are. And that makes all the crap worth it.
That reminds you of the line in Saving Private Ryan when he says, earn this. And it's so hard for people watching, because the comment I get again it's exactly opposite of what you're saying. It's, well, I'm not going to do the right thing because I do have children. That's what people say. What's your retort to that?
Your kids are watching everything.
Kids are watching everything.
Your kids see it. Think about even relationships and divorce. And unfortunately, I've been through divorce. And I got along actually quite well with my ex-husband. It just wasn't a great fit
was
at the end.
Was that during this or before you got divorced?
Oh, it was all at the same time.
It was at the same. Did this cause the divorce?
No. I'd been divorced a few months before COVID hit, and then this. It was all a great.
Because that's another issue.
Years.
Is people have partners and their value systems aren't aligned, and there's a mortgage and there's money.
Yeah, for sure, all of it. But no, at this point, I was already single. But that's why I took the shot. Is because I had to pay for everybody. Remember? And so, but no, my point is that. In relationships, adults in particular, we think that we're hiding things. We think that, we're good actors and actresses. Kids feel it too. Sometimes kids don't know what they're feeling, but kids feel it. And so in every way, as a parent, you're not just their mom and dad, you're their leader. And if you want them to be better, you must live better. You must show it so they can emulate that, not emulate the bad, the wrong decision, the living in fear, whatever it might be. Kids see and feel so much more than we want them to.
Yeah, I haven't heard it put that way, the way you're saying it, and I think it's very, very profound. What do your kids now? You said they're 19, 21, and 23, respectively. Yeah. Do they know what they want to do in life at this point in their life?
My oldest has a job, which is awesome. She graduates from college in May and has a job, and she called me last night, the night before, 2 nights ago. And her job's on the road this week. She works in furniture sales and a sales associate, something she never thought she'd want to do. And she's kind of crushing it. And she's learning so much. And she's a great leader, a great team around her. And she called me, and we call them happy tears, James. And she said, Mom, I've never been happier in my life. Because she's learning to do it by herself. She's learning to budget, which is a problem for her. Mm-hmm. But she's independent and she's doing it on her own, and she's super scared, and she's working with people who've been in the business for 20 years. But every time, so I tell her, I'm like, every time you push through that fear, you realize, oh my gosh, I survived. And now I have a little bit more knowledge. And maybe I screwed it up, but now I know how I'll do it better the next time. Every day you're growing. And for her to say, I've never been happier, oh my gosh. That, I take that as a victory as a mom, right? My son is a senior in college. He knows what he wants to do. Digital media, graphic design, video game producing, and he does the art. It's tough because now AI is taking over that industry. And so he's trying to be creative and come up with other things. And he's a senior and he's very nervous. But I have faith in him, and he has faith in himself, more importantly.
You make me want to have children. I need to do that.
You can take care of that tonight, James. I mean, listen, West Palm Beach, there's all kinds of... I'll stop.
I have to be careful about that one.
I know.
But I suppose I could be like Elon. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Okay, one time my mom said, my youngest brother doesn't have kids yet. He's 43. He doesn't have kids. And she's like, your sister and your older brother, they all have babies. When are you going to have babies? And he's like, Mom, if you want, I can take care of that tonight. And she's like, wait, never mind, slow down. That's gross. So let's not.
Yeah, I've had offers, but I genuinely want to have children, and I think it'll be a legacy thing. I feel like I do have children. I have employees, and I have many whistleblowers that talk to me on Signal. But I don't need real children.
Based on the young man that I know that you were, based on what you said on my show, please, everybody, go watch it.
That was a great show. You need to watch it.
Sage Steele show. Honestly, though, it was awesome for me to learn. Like, I've watched you for years, like millions of people, but it was awesome for me to know your why, learn your why. And I'm picturing you at your cafeteria table in high school, sifting through newspapers and all the things that you said that you did where you knew from day one what you wanted to do.
I didn't know it ostensibly, but
like
I subconsciously knew it because I'm reading the paper. Yeah, that's right. The
and
why.
So yes, you need to have babies because
I will.
All the things that you've been through, which are choices.
Yes.
Man, you're going to have strong kids.
And thank you for saying that.
I wouldn't just say it.
I don't think it's a conscious choice. I think for me, it's a choiceless choice. In other words, I don't know how to do anything but what I'm choosing to do. But I hear you, and I appreciate that.
Here's a question. Mm-hmm. What are you willing to sacrifice?
For the children.
For the kids, for the spouse.
Boundaries with work. I'm going to have to say the word no to people that need my help, and that's going to be very, very hard. But we hopefully what we're doing here is we're building an organization of people and people I trust with my life that I have to delegate more responsibility and authority to, so that I can walk away for a minute. But it's very, as Charlie Kirk said so poetically, it's like your weekends and evenings are gone. You're working 90 hours a week, running around the country, doing all this. But at some point, you have to be willing to put a boundary in so that you can have the personal life.
The beautiful part about my drama, cancellation, lawsuit, starting from scratch, the best part has been having the freedom to spend more time, to be able to say yes to my kids. And I was very present as a mom. I said no to a lot of things that were really tempting and potentially lucrative and really inspired me as a journalist and a sportscaster, because there was a dance recital or there was a cross-country meet or a horse show. All my kids were involved in a bunch of stuff. And to be able to be there and be present, and for my elderly parents to be able to say yes to those things now. And am I making the money I was making? No. Do I get to interview LeBron James and those guys anymore? No. And I don't want to.
Do any of them stay in touch with you, though? The
No.
people? Not really.
No, I mean, if I saw them, I'm sure it'd be cordial, or they might run the other direction because, oh my gosh, she's a right-wing nut job, which I'm not.
You're not.
But that's what people put you in that corner.
But I'm sure there are certain people out there, and you probably don't want to say their names on the air, but they're secretly like, hey, keep up.
I have so many people who DM me.
Yeah, but you can't say who they are because you don't want them to lose their jobs.
Which I get, although I have lost respect for a lot of people.
Yeah, what's their excuse?
In particular, for the protection of women's sports and these grown-ass men and women, but former NFL players and NBA players who know damn well that there are scientific differences in us that have been that way since the beginning of time, and for them to not condemn men coming into their daughters' volleyball games in high school or whatever it may be, that's where I lose respect, because those guys have $100 million in the bank. What their fear is of being disliked or losing a marketing deal, which isn't going to change their bottom line. So the people who are teachers and, blue collar Americans who literally can't afford to lose their jobs. Like, I have more empathy there. I get that. But these people are cowards when they are choosing to deny science and therefore be hypocritical of their prior statements of supporting women. Those are the guys and gals, because I've said for years, if all the women, forget about the guys, if all the female sports journalists in this country, half of them stood up and were like, well, what are we doing, guys? This would have ended a long time ago. Riley Gaines would never have had to do what she's had to do. But women and men who've fought for half a century and more now for Title IX and women's equality are silent for the most obvious things. So that's the part where I say, suck it up and do the right thing.
But
like,
it's also,
pathetic.
you did the right thing. You spoke up. You faced the price. You lost the glamorous, so-called glamorous, because that's another story, career for an established institution. And it almost seems to me, and I was talking to Thomas Drake about this earlier, is that you act as a mirror for people because you force them to confront their own inadequacies or demons.
That's why they unfollow me.
That's why
we're not. That's why they don't want to be friends. I had one woman in particular that I loved at ESPN, like love, 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 love. She's still on air there. Who, went through some tough times, and I tried to be helpful because I was the vet, and I remember what that felt like to be younger and newer and like having kids, and it's a tough time in that industry in particular. And then, I got in trouble, and we were all going to have like a girls' night, and she told the people that were coming, listen, I can't take pictures with her. Don't put it on Instagram. I can't be seen with her.
Oh gosh, I would have confronted her and ambushed her
Well,
there.
I wasn't supposed to know. Someone else told me, and that would have, implicated them. So I had to walk away from it. But that one in particular, because I love her and I think she's super talented and has a great heart. But that one in particular, that one really got me, because it's like, wait, it's funny, like people want to be around you when you're helpful to them, or you fit in a box and aren't controversial. And I think that's the thing, and you've experienced it, when people know your heart but still continue to.
That's a tough one, and I was again bringing up Drake. There's a book about whistleblowing, and whistleblowing is just I don't like the word whistleblowing. I think it's more of like a person of conscience, man or woman of conscience. And in the book, it talks about it's not even your boss that retaliates against you because they're operating in their own self-interest. They're trying to protect the corporation, their company man. It's often the men beside you who didn't have your back, who weren't there for you, who secretly agreed with you, but then shoved a knife in my back. Let me give you a quick personal anecdote. When I was fired from the company I created, the security guard, the man who I paid for years, who was at the front door greeting me every morning, he helped me escort my stuff out of the building. It's those moments, and that woman who said what she said, even though secondhand, it just breaks your heart that someone would say that. Another quick anecdote, we're doing an event, citizenjournalismgala.com, shameless plug, Mar-a-Lago, November 13th, for our whistleblowers, people in the Border Patrol, people who are federal employees who lost their job and pension, Rick Adante, Florida Tech professor, and one of the people emailed me, I won't say who, and she said, this was the chief of staff for someone I work with, and she said, which famous people are going to be at your gala, James? And I responded, I said, well, here are all the names of the whistleblowers. Yeah, but what big names are going to be there? And I was just like, are you out of your mind? Like,
wow.
You're talking to the Price is My Life guy, the Project Veritas guy, the OMG guy, and you're asking me about but human nature. You're dealing with something involving human nature with that woman who said what she said about you. Oh, I can't be seen in a picture with that. It's just people's nature.
I'm pretty sure she agrees with me. Her family agrees with me on a lot of these things. And, but it's okay, because what it has done, it has made my circle so much smaller, and it's easier. And listen, I was naive. I've always been way too trusting of people, and just, and I don't want that to change in many ways. I still want to be glass half full and think about the good in people. But I'm a little wiser now after that experience, and I needed it.
Thing, right?
I needed it. I did. But I also think you have to be careful, because you don't want to stop helping others. You don't want to completely close up and not allow yourself to experience new friendships, like new relationships, new whatever.
Did you get new friendships after this? Did you develop new friends? Any new friends?
Yes, so many. Not there. I mean,
Not
secretly,
at ESPN, perhaps.
so many new everything. Like, honestly, to leave and then be able to start my own show and get to interview who I want to interview. I started my own company, and it's crazy. I never wanted to. Like, I never wanted any of that. I liked going to a network with, a great team of producers and researchers, and then I had a 2-hour live show on national TV every single day. And that was a lot of work. We wrote everything, highlights and interviews and all that. And it was a lot every day, and I loved it. And then I could do it, crush it, walk out the door, go home with I don't have to worry about the next day. Like, it's not my company.
You're not the owner.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's changed, and that's been hard and intimidating and scary, and I hate it.
But that's how the media's changed. Everything
exactly.
Is happening this way.
Well, look at the media in general and how the mainstream media and the legacy networks are pretty much dead.
I agree with you.
The demographics of the people who watch those, probably 55 and up, because they don't know how to get on YouTube TV.
When you did your pieces on ESPN, were they pre-produced, written, and edited pieces for the most part?
I mean, at SportsCenter, when I did SportsCenter, it was live.
It was all live.
All live. And I did NBA Countdown for 4 years, the pregame halftime show.
It was mostly live television?
All live, yeah.
Well, that's not dissimilar, I suppose, but like 60 Minutes is different. It's like pre-produced package, but you were doing
heavily
live television.
Produced.
This is James O'Keefe. You know me for exposing the truth and holding the corrupt elite responsible and accountable. However, today I want to tell you about protecting your own freedom, your finances. Before you buy any gold or silver, hear this. We're going through one of the biggest financial shifts of our lifetime. De-dollarization. Nations like China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia are pulling away from the US dollar. And that threatens your savings and retirement security. Legendary investor Ray Dalio warns skyrocketing debt, relentless money printing, and a weakening dollar are all part of a dangerous cycle that could impact you. That's why more Americans are turning to real assets like physical gold and silver. Gold just surged past $3,700 per ounce, and momentum is building. I've partnered with veteran-owned American Independence Gold to help you take action. Open a qualifying account today and get up to $10,000 in bonus gold and our free gold protection guide. And here's the best part. A portion of every sale supports Tunnel to Towers and Wounded Warriors. Freedom isn't given, it's secured. This is James O'Keefe. As always, this is not financial advice. Always check with your licensed financial advisor before you invest.
So your stuff wasn't, it was all live.
It was all live. Now I would know if I was having, our analyst, if Adam Schefter was coming on to talk NFL. We knew, and we discussed topics, and they would give us, basic guiding questions for what he wanted to talk about. It would go along with this B-roll and the graphics and the sound bites. Like, it's produced, but 9 times out of 10, I changed whatever question they gave me because I didn't like it.
Did you like it live? Do you like live?
I prefer live.
You prefer live?
Oh my gosh, please, yes. I don't know what that is. It's probably something sick where you're like the adrenaline rush. And then every once in a while you would pre-tape an interview. If the guest couldn't be there live, then you'd tape it 10 minutes before the show. But otherwise, it's all live. And, highlights, you get a shot sheet of, okay, here's your play. It's 3rd and 2 on the 25-yard line with 2 minutes to go. And then the play itself, and then the result. But then that's generic. You tell a story with each play on each highlight sheet. And if I'm doing 20 highlights a show between NBA, NFL, like, there's so much to know every single day. And I love that pressure.
A very specific calling that you had at a young age. How did you know you wanted to be a sportscaster?
Because I knew I wouldn't be a good enough athlete to do anything, play anything past high school, and I wanted to be in it. And the reason I wanted to be in it is because as a fan, just watching on TV, I literally felt people coming together via sport. On a football Sunday, 80,000 people down the road at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And for those 3 hours, aside from a couple of pockets of Buffalo Bills fans at the Dolphin Stadium.
Ooh, Buffalo Bills,
you're
my dad's
welcome.
favorite team.
Exactly. Besides whoever the visiting team is, a couple of those fans, you've got call it 75,000 other fans. And I don't know you, but we're sitting next to each other and we're high-fiving. And guess what doesn't matter? Our race, our sex, our religion, our politics, our socioeconomic status. None of it matters in sports. Teams. I spent my life, most of my career, not all of it, in NFL and NBA locker rooms. And black, white, green, Jewish, like it didn't matter. Sport was the one area that was sacred, where none of it mattered, and you just wanted to win, and you had to win together. And I wanted to be a part.
Well, changed a little bit in the last 5 years, little bit, but
it has.
Hear you.
But when I graduated from college in 1995, and when I said I wanted to do this in 1984, watching
that was a different world,
right? But it does still exist.
It's also very precocious of you, and to understand human nature that early on. Like, the world's changed so much since the 1980s and 90s.
But I still want to hang on to it, because I believe that people of all demographics, even younger people, are desperate for that. Desperate to just be a fan. Desperate to not have Black Lives Matter in the end zone.
Well, that's true.
And for the most part, guess what? We ignore it. Does anybody look at those end zones or the panels along the sidelines at an NBA game and be like, oh, Black Lives Matter? Yes. Yes. I mean, maybe 5 years ago they did, or whatever the political saying is of the day. Like, I don't even see that. We ignore it now. But if those virtue signalers feel better about it, great. 99% of people in sports, athletes as well. I mean, of course you have some naysayers on the side in the WNBA and certainly NBA, but like, people are playing sport for the love of the game and the love of each other. And that still exists. I see it all the time. But, you know, we have done a really good job of helping divide by the clips we post on social media and the athletes that some of them haven't helped as well. But I believe the inherent good of sport is still.
Is that something that your parents gifted to you or instilled in you? Your West Point father?
Yeah. Yeah. My dad, he was a football player at West Point.
Oh, really?
Actually, the first Black to ever play varsity football at West Point. He broke the color barrier in 1966. Made history there, and was actually drafted in the NFL by the Detroit Lions in the 17th round, back when they had 17 rounds.
Did he play for the Lions?
No, because back then, if you went to a service academy, Army, Navy, Air Force, although we don't count Air Force as much as we count Army and Navy, then you had to serve your 5 years. And then at that point, for the most part, athletically, you know, your prime is gone, and you're not going to come back to be an NFL player. Or, you know, David Robinson served and came back and played, you know, famously for the San Antonio Spurs, but it's a different time in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And so I grew up sitting next to my dad on the couch and watching sports and memorizing all the jersey names and all the positions. And
my hero was Doug Flutie.
Really? BC. Look at that.
It's a picture of your dad, I believe.
That's him.
Picture put up on the screen for
Isn't
the audience.
He handsome?
That's the West Point football team.
Army football. That's probably 1966. And
1966.
Think about this. At that time, he was a tight end. He was 6'6.5", 220 pounds. Back then, that was a big man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be 80 next summer. He's lost 3 or 4 inches because of knee replacements and neck surgeries and
6'6", 220. That's about Michael Jordan's size.
Yeah. And he Hall of Fame, Army Sports Hall of Fame for football and track. He was a stud. And so did his career in the service, 23 years, retired colonel.
23 years in the service. West Point mandates 5 years, right? Something like that. Do they still mandate that? I don't know. They still do.
Yes.
So
that's where it began. And I was always a daddy's girl, and I wanted to be around him as much as possible. And whether he was playing sports as a young father, or we were watching sports, living in different countries, watching the 1 or 2 American channels that existed on those old TVs.
Yeah.
That's what we did on the weekends. And it's where it all began.
I was a big football fan in the 1990s. And then, this is just my brief sports story. I was obsessed with the Buffalo Bills because my dad's from Buffalo area. And then they lost 4 straight Super Bowls. And I was like 8 or 9. It was brutal. Four
Four straight was bad.
And then they got
I
this
feel
guy,
bad
Doug
for you
Flutie,
guys.
who was like 5'9", and then I became a Flutie fanatic. And then they benched, this is like inside football stuff. They benched Flutie in a game called the Music City Miracle with the Tennessee Titans.
Do you think are you saying this for your audience or for me? Because you know I know this.
I know
Dude,
you do,
ESPN,
but I don't.
okay, let's just
I'm
clarify.
okay.
Frank
so
Wycheck, keep going.
I just don't. I've never said this publicly in my entire life because I've had no reason to. But I'm talking to you, so I'm going to say it. So they bench my hero, the 5'9", politically incorrect. He's my hero, midget, 5'9".
Midget. You can't say that. You have to say little person.
Little person, my hero. So I can say, I go to Giant Stadium to watch Doug Flutie jump over these people, throw a football, and everyone's By the way, the Jets fans are the worst fans. They're saying horrible things to me, things I can't even say I can't even say the words. It was so bad, throwing Flutie Flakes in my face, cigars. This is the 1990s, different era. People smoking cigars, blowing it in my face, cursing me off. I'm a little kid. I'm 13 years old. Doug Flutie. They benched Doug Flutie in a game with the Tennessee Titans after the heroic lateral pass or whatever it was, which maybe was an inch over. And honest to God, 1999, 2000, I said, I'm done.
Are you serious?
I can't take it. I can't. I
can't take it.
I was so broken. I was brokenhearted. They lose 4 straight Super Bowls. They bench my hero. 1999. That's my football story. And I just never. I can never get. There he is, Doug Flutie. I used to watch him play at Giant Stadium.
I know.
They played the Jets twice a year, once in Buffalo and once and this is at the old Giant Stadium. And I never got really back into it. And I think the problem I have present day, honestly.
That's so sad that was the end for you.
I'm just being honest.
No.
Project Truth here.
Oh my gosh.
I hate to say it, but it is the truth. My dad's still a Bills fanatic. And I have to say, I think a lot of people, my audience, will living vicariously through me here because almost everybody I talk to now in my little world, for them, it's like sports ball is just not real. So there's so much tragedy and injustice in the world, and we're going through all this with the pandemic and the plandemic and all of the crimes against humanity and the corruption in our. It's hard for me to. I'm just speaking personally.
No, I know.
It's hard for me to suspend my disbelief, to borrow a drama term, and attend a game where people throw a ball around.
But that's why it still exists to the level it does, because people need an escape from all the atrocities that you're describing. Like literally they need an escape, which is also why people got pissed off when you insert politics into it and are divisive.
That's
because
true.
that was the one safe space where you could escape. And like I said, when I was that little girl and realized that, wow, your race, none of that matters. You're just excited that your Bills are winning and almost on the way to the Super Bowl or losing.
Coming in second
right?
place.
No, but that's where I do still find so much joy in watching. Not as much. I do admit that I've needed a break. And when it's 30 years.
It's not as much joy as you used to have
well,
watching.
I just wasn't able to be a fan. I always had to be worrying about statistics and what's next. And I'm
What's your
watching
favorite
games.
teams?
I was watching games thinking about my questions for the next day. Do you know what I mean? So I was always in it and
It's
not
your
like.
job, not your.
Yeah, no, but it was the best job ever. I'm just saying I looked
understand.
at it differently. And now I'm trying to care about my fantasy team and not.
What is your favorite teams in the leagues?
I honestly don't really have favorite teams. I have favorite people or players or coaches.
Individuals,
just because I've gotten to know the people. And then sometimes I know too much. So I'm like, don't cheer for that team. I'm not going to tell you why, but don't cheer for that team. I do. NFL's always been my first love just because that's what I did with my dad. And my brother works in the NFL. So we root for the Ravens because he works for the Baltimore Ravens. But and if they win, he gets a bonus. And I like my nieces and nephews more than I like him, actually. So I'm kidding. But I will say basketball, college hoops, and more now college football because my husband is an obnoxious Notre Dame fan. It's like nonstop. So so I have to like listen. If Notre Dame wins, he's happy. So I have to root for.
My grandfather was a fanatic.
Notre Dame?
Fighting Irish, yes.
Is he Catholic?
Yes, he called me Irish growing up. Yeah, Lou Holtz, the coach from the 90s.
You're once again not informing me about who Lou Holtz is, are you? Because I interviewed him and I worked with him.
Speaking of people you interviewed, on a positive note, what is your Name a couple great.
Lou Holtz.
Lou
I
Holtz.
got in 1997. I was in Lou Holtz's office in South Bend, Indiana, at Notre Dame, and I wasn't a sportscaster yet because they wouldn't let me in sports. But I was a news reporter, and I begged my way in that day. And whoever was the sports reporter couldn't go, so I just did an interview with him. And at the end, first he tried to hook me up with his son Skip Holtz, which no, and secondly, I got him to do the Macarena on camera.
What
Lou
year?
Holtz,
What year was this?
97.
Wow.
Do you remember the Macarena?
I remember that. Yes. Yes.
I
I remember that.
You have to like thrust your hips.
That was in 5th grade, 1995.
You were in 5th grade in 95?
I was, 5th grade, 1995.
Okay, that's annoying.
Yeah.
I was graduating college. But I got him to do that, which was amazing because he was Lou Holtz. And I didn't like Notre Dame, but I liked him. I thought he was a great leader, and I loved how he was just himself and spit all over everybody when he was talking.
There he is.
I did an interview with him like a year ago. I was on his show, and I think he's 90.
Is he still alive?
Yes, and he's so sweet, and he's
My
principled.
favorite Lou Holtz quote, and I use this in my leadership of my team, is when asked, how do you keep everyone on your team so enthusiastic? And he responded and said, easy. I get rid of the ones who are not enthusiastic. That's my favorite. Man, that's a leader.
So everybody here in this office is very enthusiastic, I take it, or you would have gotten.
Yeah, I'm not. I have standards, and I mean, we keep people
Good.
who don't share our values don't
Interviews,
stay.
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods,
but that wasn't even in person. That was during COVID.
What, name like a couple
Tiger,
people that
Phil,
are good that
I
you
love-
admire. That you
Phil,
good people.
Phil Mickelson.
Phil Mickelson.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
And Tiger Woods, good. You admire.
Yeah, I
him?
didn't know him well, and don't, but I hope to at some point. I'd love to hear
But
his
men
story.
that you've met, maybe you had a chance to know names who are good men of virtue. You admire them, good players.
I always admired Stephen Curry.
Stephen Curry.
I don't like his politics. I'm sure he doesn't like mine. He might hate me now. I don't know, but I always respected him
What
a
did
lot.
you respect about him?
He was always kind. He was always respectful. He always answered questions. I knew a lot of athletes who were the superstar, and then if a game didn't go their way, they fumbled on the 2-yard line, and then they lost the game. They would leave the locker room and not man up. But they were always there when they scored, right, or they won. So the guys who were there win, lose, or draw, and were respectful and professional to the media, those of us in the media who were respectful to them, like we have to earn it. And
He
I
manned up and talked to you,
every
even
time.
though he wanted to put his head between his legs.
every single time.
Interesting.
Do you remember Tony Siragusa?
From the Ravens,
Goose. Yeah,
the
Goose.
Browns,
Ravens and Colts. He won
Colts.
the Super Bowl.
I remember that. Yes, I
won
remember.
the Super Bowl with the Ravens.
Okay. The Goose.
Goose, yeah, he died a few years ago suddenly. He was a good friend, and when I covered the Ravens, which was right after their Super Bowl year, 01 to 05, so those 5 seasons, whenever there was a tough game, I'm friends now with Ray Lewis and always have been, but sometimes those guys are tough, the big stars, and like they're like, nah, Sage, nah. And I'm like, dude, you promised me, and they wouldn't do it. And I had a 2-hour live post-game show that I hosted by myself. And so I would be in the chair getting live guests. The coach would come in, and then I'd have to go in the locker room and like beg people. And some of them were like, after a loss, they're like, no. But
tough.
Goose would always do it. And Goose would come in, all 360 pounds of him, and squeeze his butt into a director's chair that we were convinced was going to break every time. And somehow he got out of it. But like, he saw me trying. He saw that I was a pro and came prepared. I felt like I had to, as a woman, be extra prepared. And then he did it. Like, he would do it for me. And he, later in his life, when I, got political by accident and then got, canceled and all that, he sent so many supportive messages. There's also a lot of coaches who have reached out quietly and said, keep it up. Some team owners, keep it up. And so that means a lot. But I just, honestly, I got to live the dream that I announced to my parents at 11 years old. Like, I got to do it. I got to do all of it. It didn't end the way I wanted, but it ended the way it was supposed to. And I got to do so much more than I ever felt like I even deserved. So what a blessing. How many people get to do what they set out to do as a little kid?
You have quite a life.
I know.
And it went the way it was supposed to. it was destined to be the way that it was. You know, hearing you talk about these people, I told you when I went on your show that Charlie Kirk kind of lifted me up. It's just interesting to hear a sportscaster's view. Is this the kindness of these men who gave back, gave to you? They were manning up and giving you the interview, and just shows you the importance in life of sometimes just remember to be kind. Just remember to just lift people up, you know.
Literally, I'd say 98% of the athletes I dealt with were incredible, even in weird situations, in locker rooms, and it's after a game, and I'm in their area, but I'm part of the media, so I'm allowed in, but it's uncomfortable, and people are getting dressed in showers, and I'm trying to be professional, and I'm a mother, and when 5 years I covered the Ravens, 3 of those 5 seasons I was pregnant, so I'm on the road, on airplanes, like nursing, pumping at halftime of football games so I could feed my kid, but still do the drink. Like, they were so kind to me. They took care of me. They had my back because they saw that I was prepared and professional and respectful of them.
Seems like they respected you.
They did. And I was always so grateful for that respect, because you do have to earn it as the media. More so now because media screwed it up, even in sports. But I knew, and as a woman in the 90s, like, I had to be better than the guys. No one told me that. I felt that. And so I feel so grateful that they gave me a chance, you know. They pushed me. Certain coaches made it really tough. Some of the players, some of my coworkers actually were the worst, because a lot of them didn't think women belong there. But after a while, when they see that, you know, at first, I mean, I was told, oh, we know why you're here. One of my coworkers, it got back to me. He's like, well, she's a woman. She's a woman of color. Double whammy. No wonder she's here. Like, DEI, I guess before DEI was a thing. Then for a while I believed it. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I'm just a favor? What if someone's just doing someone a favor, or the HR quota is fulfilled because I checked 2 boxes? And then I realized, like, at some point, they're not doing you favors. If you suck, you're going to make them look bad, so you're not going to get the job. And I was like, wait, maybe I am better than they say I am. And then, you know, the dream came true. I am so blessed.
What is the thing you miss most of all the time on the field with the players, the interviews, the NFL? Is there something about, man, I miss that?
I miss the pressure.
The pressure? Mm-hmm. The post-game interviews, like what specific was the most pressure?
Post-game, 2 hours of live Sports Center with breaking news.
You miss the adrenaline.
I miss the adrenaline. I miss the pressure of ready or not, commercial break, 5, 4, 3. And there's nothing in the teleprompter. Like, it's all on you with breaking news.
Sometimes you perform better that way.
You do, if you think about it too much, yeah. But I miss, when I went to ESPN, I wasn't in locker rooms as much because I wasn't reporting. I was anchoring and hosting. And I miss getting to know the guys for who they are as human beings, not statistics.
On the field, so to speak.
Yeah, not stats, because their stats are incredible, but, like, you know me now. I want to know your why. I want to know how you had this dream of, you know, being a nose tackle in the National Football League, you know? And I miss those relationships, because they were friendships. And the challenge of earning their trust, like, I loved that challenge, and to prove to them, and then I would find out news and potentially breaking news.
Journalist does, right? Sources.
Yeah, sources, but, like, if you don't handle those sources the right way, it only takes once for you to lose their trust, and not only will they never talk to you again, they'll make sure everybody else in the locker room will not talk to you, and coaches and friends on other teams. Like, you're done. Which is why people go in other ways, and let's get clicks over here. And so I miss being able to know them on a personal level, because at the end of the day, I care about your stats, but it's not who you are as a person. They don't want, those guys get tired of being known just for their stats.
I'm not as much into sports these days, but what was the guy from the Seahawks? He was like, I'm the best cornerback in the game. He was like,
Richard Sherman?
Sherman. Yeah. Did you ever?
Well, he was Niners too.
Not Niners. Because some of these guys are like, you know, it's like Muhammad Ali. They're like, I'm the best. Like, you have to pump yourself up.
Remember Darrelle Revis from the Jets, like Revis Island? Like, he was considered that he was just quiet and humble. And then Sherman was not. And Sherman's brilliant. He does Amazon football, and he went to Stanford. Like, he's a really smart dude. But he was so cocky. But in the trash talking, yeah, I mean, that's part of it.
That's part
right?
of it.
Like, whatever it takes to get yourself ready
To be a
perform,
champion.
whether that means as a broadcaster or as a starting quarterback. Like, Tom Brady is an ass, according to many, was an ass leading up to, during his football times. Peyton Manning was great and difficult. Because his bar, like, if this is the bar to win in the NFL, his bar was here. And he made sure every single person in that locker room was giving that much effort, or you can leave. Like, he had that
tough.
kind of influence.
That's speaking personally, and I'm not a sports player, but I am a leader. It's the hardest part about being a leader. And then my favorite is from the Michael Jordan, the Netflix, what was it called? The Last Game, the
Last Dance.
The Last Dance. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
The quote by Jordan, I don't know if we can pull it up, but he said, winning has a price and leadership has a price. That is, I'm telling you, it's not the enemy. It's not fighting the corruption. It's getting the people around you and pulling them. And guys, we're here. We got to be up here. That is my personal experience, the hardest part about being a leader. It's not that your people hate you, but the wrong people will resent it a little bit. And even I forgot the sports broadcaster that Jordan always talked to. I forgot his name sitting here. He was in the Last Dance, but he they were talking about, Jordan was difficult. And you really have to love.
Was it Marv Albert or Bob Costas?
I don't know.
I remember.
But can we just play this clip real quick? Talking sports here with my friend.
Even though you haven't been a fan in
I haven't
20
been
years.
into sports since 1999.
25 years.
I want to show this clip to Sage Steele. Michael Jordan, hit it. Play.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price. So I pulled people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenge people when they don't want to be challenged. Once you join the team, you live at a certain standard that I played the game. And I wasn't going to take any less. Now, that means I had to go in there and get in your ass a little bit, and I did that. You asked all my teammates?
Yeah, pause.
One thing about Michael...
Yeah, that was, to me,
Love.
that was the most...
Love.
That hit me hard.
Love.
Yeah.
And I covered the Indiana Pacers during his heyday. And so it was brutal because it's all about timing in sports, right? And so the Pacers were great. Reggie Miller was great, but they were in the East with Michael Jordan's Bulls. And they could never get past him. And therefore, Reggie never got that ring. It's all about timing. Buffalo Bills, right? But if you remember the last episode in that series, and he was emotional and he cried because
on Netflix, he cried in the interview.
That was Disney, Hulu. That was an ABC. What was it? It was Netflix, but I think Disney, ESPN produced it, The Last Dance. And they were talking to him about how he was so disliked and people thought he was so difficult and they didn't like him. They hated him. And that, it affected him. And he was trying to explain it in his Michael way.
You mean modern day, that he was talking about it in 2019?
Yeah, he was asked about it. And this came out during May of COVID 2020, The Last Dance. And so, yeah, it hit him. And so you saw the human element of him, which was very rare because he was ice. And
I can tell you that it hit me. I'm not a sports player, but I can tell you as a leader, that is the hardest thing about leadership when you're doing great things.
Yes.
Because the people beneath you are always saying, oh, you can't do that. That's too much. I can't work that hard. That's impossible. And you're pulling people. Hey, guys, we are going to kill the bear. It's so hard.
But it's like, if you step it up, like, we don't know our potential sometimes unless we have the right leader around us. And then we're going to win this together.
Yeah.
Like, those guys who hated him back then absolutely love him right now, right? I mean, he and Steve Kerr, they got in fights, right? And look at Steve Kerr. I mean, I'm sure that there's still some animosity with certain situations, whatever. I don't know, Pip and Jordan now. But look what he did. They wouldn't have any of those. Maybe, I don't know, one of the 6 rings had it not been for him leading the way. I got to host one of his charity galas when he was still with the Charlotte Hornets, one of the owners. And I remember being so nervous. It's what I do. I MC and I host and I do that stuff. But I'm like, Michael Jordan is sitting right there.
Yeah, you don't strike me as someone who's going to get nervous talking to players.
It was the legend.
The legend.
The legend, and it was his baby. And I was like, I need to crush this.
Oh, I see. You were the
for
host of the
him,
charity, right?
No matter what he does, golfing, gambling, right?
Yeah,
like he's
yeah.
going to be the best of the best. And so I was like, they've trusted me with this event. It's Michael freaking Jordan. Like, I need to crush this. So that was one of my more nervous
I'm
moments.
41 years old, and Generation Z, I don't know if they'll ever fully appreciate just how great he was. I remember, again, I'm not a huge basketball guy, but I remember it was like 1997, and I was watching them, and I remember like my art teacher and I were in class, and we were just talking to each other like I was a student, but there would never be anything like this for our entire life. It was just like watching someone ballet, like flying.
So beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
And that's why kids today, and I get asked this question all the time, like, Michael or LeBron? I'm like, shut up.
You don't even understand.
You don't.
You don't even understand. I'm glad to hear you say that.
No, like and they're prisoners of the moment, and we can all be prisoners of the moment.
Because they didn't watch it. They weren't
didn't
there.
watch it live. And now look, again, social media, internet, like the way LeBron exists is completely different than Michael existed because they didn't have any of that stuff, which is probably good in many ways that there wasn't the internet and cell phones everywhere.
Didn't he get food poisoning or something in one game, and then he performed?
It was the flu game.
That's just.
It was the flu game, which is probably never going to be fully appreciated. But when he was literally vomiting, had nothing left.
I know. I wanted to share that with you because I feel as a leader that statement that he made right there, that winning has a price. The price, winning, my price is my life. Winning has a price, and leadership is a liability. But to hear that man say it, and you're telling me that many of the people, were angry at him for having him pull him along,
for being that guy that was like, oh no,
it's lonely.
Or it is lonely. I think it's. I'm so glad you said that.
It deeply affected me when I watched that.
Yes.
That
it's
deeply
lonely
affected
at
me.
the top. It's lonely being the leader at times. And we know not everybody can handle it. And I mean, being the leader, not everybody can handle that. I also have known so many people who have the title, but don't actually know how to lead. And that's a whole different thing.
Respect has to be earned.
Do you actually know how to lead? Leading isn't getting in people's faces all the time. Leading can be sitting down with your employee and talking it through instead of getting in their face and trying to make them feel smaller in front of everybody else to prove that you're the leader.
Right.
Like, really? That's what the hard thing is. Each person was going to receive it differently. Now, the bar needs to be the same. The standard needs to be the same. The rules need to be the same, which is why I sued Disney, right? But at the end of the day, like, how do you as the leader reach each person? And that's why I think it's so hard. We can all have the title, but do we actually know how to lead?
And you can't ask your people to do anything that you're not willing to do. That's why I wore on a ridiculous wig and went undercover so that they can go, I can't do it. I'm too recognized in my town. Okay, well.
But you know what else? Full circle. You also have to lead in delegating.
True.
And taking care of yourself.
True.
Away from work and the personal side and what sacrifices. Like, we talked about this, and I'm going to bother you because I have your number.
Sage Steele is going to tell me to have children.
Go have some babies tonight.
Tonight?
I'm just saying, like, you have to lead in that way too,
referrals to
O'Keefe.
some good women.
Referrals to good women.
The
Just line
questions
them up.
I shall ask you are, number one, are you willing to go to prison with me? Not visit me in the prison, but that does not mean you broke the law. And number two, my next question is, do you have a good relationship with your father? You had a great relationship with your father.
Can you wait to ask the prison question until your second date, maybe?
I'll
Not
start
your
with the first.
date?
And then people say, people who've had a bad relationship with their father will think this is unfair. But I'm a journalist. I ask questions. I mean, Sage, you had a good father. It seems like you had
I had
was
the
a
best
good man.
father.
Still is a good man.
Yeah, I had the best father. But you know what else? You know what my first question was?
What's that?
When my husband, I've been married for almost 2 months. We're newlyweds. 10 days in, his question to me was, what do you want in a relationship? And he's like, you don't have to ask, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it. And I was like, oh, no. I know exactly. Have a seat. It was on the phone. We live in different states, And for the first time in my life, I was able to honestly say that it has to start with faith.
Faith.
And being on the same faith journey. I know that I need help with it. And I've been doing it alone, and I haven't been doing a good job. And so for me, if you don't have that, like I knew at that moment that I might run him off if he didn't have faith, or at least have an interest in getting to know God more. And I was scared because it's like, well, I think he's amazing, but what if he doesn't want that too? Then I'm going to have to walk away. And it ends up, it was his number one as well. And then the rest of the stuff is actually kind of easy.
As long as you have that down.
I think so. Down. I mean, obviously there's certain things, but like motivation.
It's a necessary but insufficient condition to find someone that share those same values on faith.
For some. For others, it doesn't matter.
I think it's
for me, it does.
Pretty important. If you believe in God and have strong faith, you want your partner to have that. I believe that. But
it's one thing to have the faith. It's another thing to hold each other accountable and to try to live it. And some days we have good days and bad days. As far as, okay, we try to get up every day and read they're like daily readings and scripture based, and whether we're in the same state or not. I'd say 6 days a week we're pretty good, maybe 5.5. But we help each other with it, and it's changing everything. Like, it's so cool. And guess what? My kids are watching. His kids are watching. We are so imperfect, but we're trying to lead in that way for them. But for us, like, we need it too. And so I remember being nervous to tell him that, but taking a shot, knowing that no matter where I go next with a relationship, because it had been a long time since I'd had one, I can't go any further without that. So it's really special. But before a lot of people, men, women, we settle.
We do. We
can't.
Marriage is the leading cause of divorce, unfortunately.
Shut up.
And it's. I mean, as a man. By the way, your husband is here, and he's watching through the glass here with the producers.
Isn't he cute?
And 2 months. You've been married 2 months now.
Almost.
Congratulations.
See if we make it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, faith it's a whole other. Maybe we'll have you back on just to talk about that one, because that's an hour-long conversation.
Well, and it's been scary. I'll just say that. We can tease to the next one then. It has been really scary.
What's the most scary thing about it?
I was uncomfortable talking about it.
Uncomfortable talking about faith.
Catholics don't talk about it out loud. We only do it in church, and we don't pray out loud. And
sometimes Catholics don't read the Bible at all.
Quite often. More times than not.
But you're reading the Bible.
I am reading the daily readings that are based on scriptures from the Bible. Allie Beth Stuckey just gave me, she was on my show recently, she's incredible, just gave me a working Bible when I was with her 2 weeks ago. Because to me, it's been overwhelming to try to read the Bible, and sometimes Old Testament stuff, I don't understand it. I think it's hard to read.
To interpret it.
And so then I ran away from it. And then I wasn't encouraged in the Catholic faith. And so I can go to church on Sundays and do all the things that I actually really like, the traditions of the Catholic Church. You can go anywhere in the world, walk into any Catholic church in any country, and know what to do, and recognize the smell of that incense, and know the hymns, and know when to kneel and stand. And that feels good to me. I love that. And now I know I need more. So I'm trying to find the courage to open that Bible she gave me, because I know it's going to take a lot. But I have someone I can do that with. And my oldest daughter, who is really, really into it and pushing me as well.
Sounds like you've got some good people right around you in your family that are helping you. Courage to open the Bible. That's also quite more profound. I mean, I opened the Bible for the first time in years when Charlie died. Started reading John. That was upon recommendation from a pastor in California, Jack Hibbs. So it sounds like you've got some really good people in your life close to you, which is what life's all about. So,
James, it's the biggest blessing. And none of the people that are really prominent in my life, except a couple close friends and family, would be in my life if I stayed quiet.
Well, there you have it.
None of them.
Wow.
And look at the price. So it was very costly.
It cost you.
But
you gained.
I gained so much more. I get emotional thinking about what if I had stayed silent? What if I had listened to what they wanted me to do? I would not be here today. I would not have met my husband. I would not have the freedom. None of my life today would exist if I had stayed silent.
You found people with shared values because you chose to live by your values. If you did not choose to live by your values, you perhaps would not have found those people. Right?
Can I steal that?
Well,
Did you
riffed.
like make that up before?
I just riffed. I've never said it before. We'll cut it. We'll put it online.
Do I have to credit you every time I use it?
No, we don't have to credit. You
Pay
can
you?
plagiarize. You found.
Don't come after me with like hidden cameras saying I gave you an
This is an overt camera. You're doing both things, but that's really beautiful, and it's nice to get to know you and to become friendly with you and to know your story,
Thank you.
to talk to you about sports and talk
as much as
footy.
it pained you.
Man,
I'm proud
I want
of
to tell you, I really was obsessed with the Bills. My father still is.
Listen, this is a good time to become obsessed again. Their quarterback is a phenomenal human being.
Is he?
Oh my gosh. He's probably my favorite person in the NFL
That's
right now.
quite a statement.
He's my favorite person in the NFL right now.
Statement.
He's a good soul. Like really good
Okay.
soul who happens to be an awesome athlete. And I know they've fallen short in recent years, but this is the time to
Okay.
jump back on the bandwagon.
All
Okay.
All right. I may do that.
A quarter century has gone by.
I'm gonna send him this link and share this with him. Maybe if he doesn't respond.
Do you know his name?
I don't.
Oh my God.
You know what? I probably do. But I don't remember.
I am so judging you right now.
I'm bad with
That's terrible leadership.
I'm bad with names. I don't even follow the Bills.
His name is Josh Allen.
Right. I knew that. I just forgot it. My staff will tell you that we don't remember everyone's names. Yes,
It's okay.
I'm familiar with Josh Allen.
Look, yeah. And he just
29
got
years old.
married.
29 years old. That's still fairly young.
Look at that. He's a big boy. When I met him, the last time I saw him was at the Masters. And I was like, when you were in college, I don't think you were this big. Like he is. He's fast too for that height and weight.
What do you admire about Josh Allen? Why is he such a great guy?
He is a kind soul. Okay, I was at a Super Bowl or an ESPY somewhere, and I was in a store, and he was with his agent, and I was just looking through the rack, and he walked up to me, and he goes, Sage Steele. He's like, oh my God, I've watched you since I was a kid, which now I roll my eyes because everybody that is like 30 now watched me when they were in diapers, and that's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and I knew who he was, and I thought, how the heck do you know? I would forget that people watched because I tried to tell myself that nobody watched so I wouldn't get nervous. I was like, no one's watching except my mom, so it's fine if I screw up. Apparently others were. And he was just like big wide eye, and he was like, oh my gosh, how are you? It's so nice to meet you. And I was like, me? Like, do you care? So every time I've seen him, he's just like, hi, how are you? And hugs, and now he's married, and like he's so kind. He's such a good kid. And I believe he donated, I don't know if it was true or not, but I believe he donated to Charlie Kirk, to Turning Point.
Well, we'll send Alan this podcast and say, hey, he may not respond.
You can be like, James, I'm James O'Keefe. I've been a fan of yours for years.
Yeah. It's pretty surreal that we're sitting here. And in the mid '90s, I remember when I was in like sixth grade, I used to watch SportsCenter. I was with who was his name? The eventually became like a weird psychotic leftist.
Keith Olbermann. He's the worst.
But Olbermann was like 39 at the time.
Yeah.
And who's the other guy on with
Dan
him?
Patrick.
Dan Patrick. Those were the days.
They were the best team ever.
That was a cool
Olbermann's
team.
psycho. Dan has done his own thing, and he's incredible.
Was Olbermann psycho back then though? It was like
not like he is now, and now he's literally he's unstable.
I think they did in the morning. It was like 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 8 to 9. It was the same rerun of the hour-long show.
It was a rerun of the 11 p.m.
11 p.m. that they reran in the morning. And who is the guy? I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry. Berman.
Chris Berman. He's still there,
and he seemed like a Bills fan.
He is a Bills fan.
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Look at you.
See, I remember.
Look at you. It's all coming back.
This is like pre-Project Veritas.
So he left. Boomer left. Chris Berman. He left, and then they brought him back like 6 or 7 years ago, and he still does Monday night stuff.
No one circles.
And I think he still
wagons.
does the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Back.
God, that was those Jets fans. I would wear a Jim Kelly jersey to a football game in like 1993.
To a Jets game.
To a Jets game.
Well, so that's your fault.
It was people almost physically assaulted me.
Your father knowingly let you do that?
Yes. The
Okay.
O'Keefes are a little naive. We believe the best in human nature. But I've never physically
No,
gotten
not anymore. You don't.
I've never gotten into a fight in my fist fight in my life. But these Jets fans were I mean, just horrible. And I remember in the early and mid 90s, it was like they were like you could hardly spot the Bills jerseys, and the Jets weren't very good.
No,
They were pretty pathetic. But
that was like Vinny
That's my
Testaverde
story.
days ish.
that was like Boomer Esiason.
Boomer Esiason
In
days.
1993 and 94 and then Doug Flutie in 98. I was 14.
Yeah,
And they would say like, F you, Flutie flakes, Flutie sucks. It's like, what? I mean, anyway.
It's New York and it's Jets fans, and they're just very bitter
This
because
is
of
pre-internet, pre-Twitter,
Yes.
pre-YouTube. This is a different
back
world.
in the good old days.
No phones. I mean, anyways, that you brought me having some nostalgia right now.
I love it. We'll continue the sports
We'll-
trivia
we'll
when the
continue to
cameras are
talk.
off.
Anything else I didn't cover that you want to talk about before we wrap
you
up?
did. It was so nice. It
What-
kind of went all over.
What was your favorite part of the conversation?
Well, I think I need you to repeat it one more time.
Oh, the quote that
Gains and the standards, because so you don't even remember. Shoot, can we roll
I
the
think
tape
it
back?
was something to the effect of I'm going to say it in a different way, but you met people that share your values because you chose to live by your values.
Yes.
We'll get that quote, but
Yes.
that is a true statement. And I think it's very inspiring to the people who are watching, who are on the edge of their seats. They might be just telling the truth, and they might say, well, I can't afford to lose the thing. But what I'm inspired by what you've been through is, and I'm learning this live, is that you gained.
So much.
You gained. Because people view this experience as a liability, but in fact you gained so much. And what more can one possibly gain than a husband who loves you, shares your values, and children who admire you? And many years from now, when you're in your deathbed, you're going to think about life, and people think about their mortgage and their purses and their Audis, and look at what you gained.
For those two examples, husband, kids, I always wanted to just make my parents proud. I was stressing them out for a lot of years. Like they were absorbing all that was happening. And then it was happening, personally too. Like it was all at the same time. And my dad, through tears in the last couple of years, has said how proud he is. I mean, my mother, of course, too, but my dad, through tears, he's like, you're so much more brave than I ever was. I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. He had very different experiences at a very different time that were much harder than mine. But for them to be proud of me, despite all of my long list of imperfections and drama and tears and it
says a lot.
That was a lot. And they were, I think, one of my biggest fears. I need this to be wine, and it's not, but no, I'm kidding. One of my biggest fears was that I wouldn't be able to, that my parents wouldn't be around, wouldn't be alive long enough for them to see me find love again. And so the fact that they were there and got to witness it, because they were like not well with everything else that happened. And so for my parents to get to witness it, like that was my biggest fear, that they wouldn't get to see it because they helped me through the other stuff. And so I feel like this is, I don't want to die now, but I feel like
You're at peace.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, my parents know that I'm okay. They helped me get there. They literally saved me through all of this. And they're proud and they're content, and they know that I finally have like a teammate, So I don't know. I just feel so grateful. That's why I shudder at the thought of what would have happened if I had stayed quiet, because, so I'm a lucky girl, old lady, whatever.
That's a beautiful statement. And team, if you could put the signal number back on the screen, if you have it, Andrew, the screenshot of people who want to come forward and tell the truth. There it is, 914-491-9395. That's 914-491-9395 for those of you out there on the inside of Disney or Raytheon or the Pentagon, Pfizer, and you have a truth that you're living with. What a beautiful testimony from someone who worked for the most prestigious organization in media and sports, and someone who gained. And I can't think of a better way to end this show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and for allowing me, because it's so much bigger than me. That's the blessing of it, is that I just want others to not wait as long as I did.
Thank you, Sage.
Thank you for having me.
Every story we tell here at O'Keefe Media Group, breaking the news, going places others won't, taking risks others won't, is powered by your support and by our partners at American Independence Gold. All right, so we're here with Ryan Durda, Senior Vice President, American Independence Gold. Lots of people are talking about gold. Ryan, tell us the difference between investing in precious metals and regular stocks or mutual funds.
The easiest answer I can give you to that is with gold, silver, precious metals in general, there's no counterparty risk. So when I say counterparty risk, with a stock, for example, if we look at, let's say, Apple, the entire board is one of your counterparties. The CEO, Tim Cook, is one of your counterparties. The staff that is responsible for developing products, marketing, those are counterparties. So you have risk in the success or failure of that individual counterparty. With gold and silver, there's no counterparty. There's no CEO of gold. There's no CEO of silver. It's a tangible asset that you own. In the case of a bond, right, we'll use the U.S. Treasury, right? The counterparty is the United States government. And right now, there's a little bit of lack of faith that exists in the United States government and or its ability to make good on its debt.
What types of investment portfolios would benefit from exposure to gold?
Any and all. I think one of the most misleading things that people are told is that they have a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bond funds. And the reality of that situation is they own one single asset class, which is they own securities. So albeit they might be diversified within a single asset class, they're not truly diversified. True diversification would be that you have a portfolio that exists of multiple asset classes that are non-correlated. So somebody with a portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and bond funds would need to have gold and silver outside of that portfolio in order to call it a true portfolio hedge.
As of the time of this recording, what is the price of gold?
3,800 and change. To give you the exact number, I would have to,
Is that an all-time high?
It's absolutely. We've had 38 new all-time highs this year alone. Last year, I believe we hit the 74 all-time high mark.
And what is that like compared to, say, 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
To give a little history, gold, if we look at just from the beginning of this century, right? So that's the year 2000, the beginning of the century, it's 25 years ago. Gold itself has actually outperformed the entire S&P 500 threefold. Had you purchased gold in the year 2000, you're up 1,500% today. If you invested in the S&P 500 index and you reinvested all the dividends, you're up about 500% and change, right? So gold just hands down been an outperformer relative to the stock market indexes.
Is there a risk getting exposure to gold now after that huge increase?
All investments carry a certain level of risk, so I'll give you the disclosure there. Gold is what's called a tier 1 asset, which is a central bank definition, simply meaning that it is safe and it's liquid. Gold, by definition of the central banks, is a tier 1 asset. So that means it's a safe investment. It's literally one of the safest things that you can own in your portfolio. So once again, all investments carry a certain level of risk, but gold is considered to be the safest thing that you can own. Most people look at the price of gold today in nominal terms, meaning they simply look at it based on the dollar price of gold. But if we were to look at gold valued in other things, i.e., if we valued gold against, again, I'll go back to the S&P, the value of the S&P priced in gold, gold is still dirt cheap. And the same holds true with the NASDAQ or the Dow. If we look at the price of gold relative to all the currency in circulation, gold is still dirt cheap. So do I think now is still a great time to buy gold? Hands down, yes.
Right now, I'm offering my followers in the trenches this incredible one-time opportunity to credit your account up to $10,000 in free gold and silver on a qualifying purchase. That's right, this will help you get started protecting your wealth with real physical gold and silver while these historic price levels are still within reach. Go to O'KeefeMediaGold.com. That's O'KeefeMediaGold.com or call 833-324-4653, 833-324-GOLD. Again, that's O'KeefeMediaGold.com or 833-324-GOLD. Take action, get the facts, and protect your future because freedom isn't given, it's secured. This is James O'Keefe. Don't just watch history, own a piece of it. What is your price? Because if your price is not your life, then you are for sale.